Hey there, guys.
Hi.
Lance.
Hi.
Lance is here.
It's Lance Burton. We're at the I.B.M. convention in San Antonio, Texas. Now, we're going to test our technology.
Pull that down, see if
I'm
that
going to pull
refreshes.
this. I'm on the Magic Word podcast. I'm going to try and reload and see it. Now, there's no. Oh, yeah, here we are. Look. Now, can I hit share?
Yeah, hit share.
How do I do that?
There should be a share on there, isn't there?
I don't see
Well,
it.
keep on going down.
Oh, really?
Maybe to, no, okay, sorry.
Wait, let me hit it. See.
Yeah.
Okay, there it is.
Well, that's kind of...
That's weird. Here, I'll like it. But now, how do I share it to my page? Oh. All right, sorry, the old guys are trying to figure out how to work Facebook.
Yeah. Pause
All right, we're going
Is there anything on there
to.
that says share?
I don't know. I don't see a share.
Maybe it'll be after it's posted that it will get
Oh,
to the
maybe.
share thing.
Maybe. Yes. See, no, I don't see anything that says share. All right. The Magic Word podcast.
Well, I'll tell you what, you can go just to your...
I'll just go to.
You just say, hey, go to the Magic Word.
Yeah, we're going to start an interview here shortly.
Believe it or not. And while we're doing this, you guys can go ahead and ask questions. And let's see, we got one over here so far. This is from Hugh, what's his name? LeCavier? Hey, it's Lance Burton. Hugo LeCavier. All right, well, we're starting to get a few people.
Okay, this is, I'm just doing a post on Facebook so people that follow me can come here live right now on the Magic
Word Podcast Facebook page.
Word Podcast Facebook page.
Got it.
Facebook page. And exclamation point. Live right now on the Magic Word Podcast Facebook page.
Yep.
Join us.
Yep.
Join us.
Live. For the next 6 hours. Or it'll seem like it.
And post. Okay, so now I've posted it, so
You're good to go.
maybe people will join us that follow me on Facebook. And so we're here at the. So shall we start now?
Okay, let me crank this up. Okay, here we go. Just a second. Hello, this is Scott Wells for the MagicWordPodcast.com, and I have with me as my guest now someone who is a FISM winner, which, you know, there have been a lot of FISM winners, obviously, over the years, but not many U.S. winners. I believe this was the first winner from the United States of FISM, doing a stage act, and was featured then on the Johnny Carson show, and then later had his own show at the...
This guy is so old. He's done so many things. We can't remember how much he's done. He's so old.
It wasn't the Tropicana. Where was it that you were before? The
the Tropicana, the Hacienda.
The Hacienda, that's what I was thinking. Before that, you had your own show with the Lance Burton Theater, then in the Monte Carlo, and the magician who used to be known as Lance Burton, and now the producer and director. Here he is, Mr. Lance Burton. Hey there, Lance.
Scott's good to be here. Thank you.
You as well, sir.
And we are in San Antonio, Texas. We are here at the International Brotherhood of Magicians annual convention.
Right.
And we just finished our, just before the convention started, we had the Lance Burton Teen Seminar.
How'd that go, by the way?
And it was great. We had a bunch of kids, young magicians, and they were really enthusiastic about magic. And we had, of course, Eugene Berger and Jeff McBride running the classes. And our guest teacher this year was Michael Amar. And and I was there, and the kids got to learn magic and talk to pros, and it just reminds me of myself when I was their age, because they're so enthusiastic.
And you've been involved with the youth for so long. I mean, back when they had the Las Vegas Desert Seminar, I guess you kind of got involved.
Yeah. It started out
in
with
the 80s.
It started out with Joe Stevens, maybe 25 years ago, with the Desert Seminar. Joe came to me and said, you know, we're having some younger magicians show up at the seminar, and we don't really have any events for them because it's Vegas and it's
for 21 and older.
Exactly. So he said, would you host a lunch for the young magicians? And we did that for many years. And we had a lunch, and I would invite Johnny Thompson and Matt King and Fielding West and any of the professionals there working in town.
Siegfried and Roy.
And Siegfried and Roy. And we'd all have lunch with the kids, and it was great.
How nice was that?
And then at some point, about 15 or 20 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
they decided they wanted to make it a whole weekend just for the teens,
Yeah.
preceding the actual seminar. And they envisioned having classes and lectures, and I said to them, you know, this is a really ambitious project, and we'll do it if you can get Jeff McBride and Eugene Berger to come and run the actual classrooms.
Mm-hmm. Because
They know how to
run
do
class,
that,
sure.
and I've been a guest at their master classes,
Mm-hmm.
and so they've been actually running the
Now, the
classes.
master classes, how does that differ from like a workshop? Is that something where you actually give it a piece of rope or whatever, and you can say, okay, we're going to do this over and over and over? Or
Jeff and Eugene have many different types of master classes. They have, sometimes they focus on close-up magic or stage magic,
And
or mentalism, magic for doctors and medical professionals.
Oh, really? So the special and
They have all
professions
kinds of specialty, and they have general sort of master classes.
Mm-hmm.
But the students come in from all over the world. I've met students from America and China and Japan and Europe and South America, and they bring also, the students bring their act and the material that they're working on, and they perform.
Yeah.
And then they get
critique.
input from Jeff and Eugene and the other students, and it's really
Invaluable.
a great way to learn.
Have you seen some of the guys grow up? I mean, we were talking to Joel. Go ahead.
Yeah, we were as we were walking up here, we ran into Joel Ward, who was one of the teen magicians on a television special I produced, I don't know, 20 years ago.
I was going to say, late, like 89, 90, early 90s, was it maybe?
Late 90s.
Late 90s, was it? Okay. Boy, I guess
Called
time flies, yeah.
Lance Burton's Young Magician Showcase, and we had 15 young magicians, and it was a television special. And he was like 15 or 16.
Was that the one we had that young man who had cancer? What was his name?
No, that was.
Because he came and actually performed on your show in Monte Carlo on stage.
Yeah, he's been in our Young Magicians program.
Yeah.
Chad.
That's it.
Yeah, Chad Juros, very talented young magician. When he was a kid, he performed as Chadakazam.
Chadakazam.
Yeah, but he was cute because he was like 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah.
And as he got older, he dropped the Chadakazam. But he's doing really great.
Yeah.
His cancer's in full remission,
Good.
and fingers crossed.
Did you go by something when you were younger too, like
The Amazing,
Lance or something like
no,
that?
I
I was Great Scott for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I was just always Lance or
Yeah.
Lance Burton.
Yeah.
And, Lance the Magician.
Okay.
When I was a kid, that was my.
differentiate.
I actually had a business card that said Lance the Magician.
Back in Louisville. Yeah, way back when.
Exactly.
Okay, well, also, so that you had been, as everybody knows, then history and everything of what you've been doing and where you have gone, but after that you left Monte Carlo, then as far as the magic community, that you have not been quite as involved. I mean, first of all, you got one of the most iconic photos on Magic Magazine. I know that we're going to be having a 25th anniversary coming up here in Vegas in August.
Yeah.
And that I know your photo is, or that cover is one of them, with your hands over your face saying the $100 million man.
Yeah, I was the first. When we opened my show at the Hacienda Hotel, that was just when Magic Magazine was starting, and I was the first cover.
First cover, that's
of
right.
the magazine.
Yeah.
And Stan, as you know, it's the best magazine out there.
Yeah.
For magic, so I'm very excited about Magic Live next month.
I've been writing for him or associated with it since the 80s myself.
And he always does a great job at the conventions.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Puts on the best conventions.
So that you had done that, and so then again kind of transitioned over into producing and directing, and Billy Toppett's.
I retired from the stage in 2010. So, but I've still been involved in magic,
Sure.
and our Young Magicians program, which we moved to the I.B.M. convention.
And so we go from place to place, like last year in Jacksonville and
That's
Phoenix
right.
before and wherever. Yeah.
Right, and Phoenix and St. Louis,
Right.
and so this is our fourth year
Okay.
with the I.B.M. So I've been doing that, and I've been doing, of course, I do charity work there in Las Vegas.
You're involved like with the pets, aren't you?
Animal rescue.
Animal rescue, right.
Yeah, animal.
And Joni Spina probably is very involved.
Yes,
with it.
Joni. I did some things with Joni with Heaven Can Wait Animal Society, and we have a terrific animal shelter in Las Vegas called the Nevada SPCA No Kill Animal Shelter, and I do fundraising events with them. In fact, next month we're having our I think our third or fourth annual bowling tournament.
Oh, that's fun.
So it's great. Everybody gets together and we bowl and we raise money.
Yeah.
For the animals. So it's a great shelter because it's a no-kill shelter. So a lot of the animals are animals that are hard to replace, that if they went into a normal shelter, they would wind up being euthanized. Animals with medical needs, or sometimes they come in with pairs. You know, if you have two dogs and they're both 9, 10 years old and they've lived together all their life, you can't split them up.
Yeah, it's like
because they're family.
they're sibling, yeah.
You have to keep them together. In fact, about a year ago, I was there at the shelter the day the 3 dogs got adopted, that they were nicknamed the 3 blind mice.
Oh, funny.
There were 3 dogs. They were very large dogs. They were like 90 to 100 pounds each.
Wow. That's a commitment for someone taking all 3.
And all 3 were blind.
My. So.
And it was a birth defect. It was a mother and a daughter and a son. And they were all strongly, they stood next to each other touching. You know, that's how they maneuvered. They were great dogs because you could take them out in the courtyard and throw the tennis ball and they would fetch. They would hear the ball bounce and go and get the tennis ball and bring it back to you. But they were there at the shelter for almost a year, and then finally the couple came in and adopted them. And I was there that day and I met the couple, and the man had experience before he had had a dog that was blind.
I remember Joni telling me about stray cats. I hadn't thought about that, but they said that's a real feral cat. So part of the problem is people come to Vegas, they have a cat, and they move, and they leave their animals behind.
Now, my good friend Gary Darwin, who runs the Darwin Magic Club there in Las Vegas, if you come to Las Vegas Wednesday night,
midnight,
come over to, they moved it over to Tommy Rocker's over on Industrial Boulevard. They're still meeting there every Wednesday.
Is he doing okay, by the way?
What's that? Gary's doing good.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
I talked to him yesterday.
Excellent.
He's doing good. But Gary, he has these cats that he feeds at his house, and they're, you know, it's a feral cat colony. A lot of them, and some of them are his neighbors' cats that come over for a free meal. But Gary feeds them.
Yeah.
So but they kept having babies on his back porch. And
Those
they kept
kitties.
multiplying.
Kittens,
Yeah. So finally, and I adopted several of them, and I adopted all that I could, and then it started to get crazy.
Yeah.
So I called the Heaven Can't Wait Animal Society, which I met through Joni Spina, and they had a program called Catch, Neuter, and Release. And they came over, and they were great. They came over, they talked to all of Gary's neighbors and let them know what they were doing to, you know, keep their cats inside for a few days. And they set live traps on Gary's back porch, and over the course of a week, they captured 20 cats. Now, about half the cats had already been spayed and neutered, but a half of them weren't. So all the cats had surgeries. They brought all the cats back, let them go, and now they're still there. They live there in the neighborhood, and Gary feeds them, but they're not having babies every 6 months.
That's a big difference then. So going then back over to the movies that you had written this yourself, I guess a long time ago, is that right?
Yeah, here's what happened. Here's the story of how Billy Toppet, Master and Magician, came about. When I was a kid, I saw The Magician starring Bill Bixby.
Sure, of course.
Remember that?
Sure.
Like 1973.
Right.
And Bill Bixby played this professional magician.
Living above the Magic Castle.
Lived above the Magic Castle.
Drove a cool car, had his own plane.
Had the vet, had the driving gloves, had the
Yeah.
phone in the car.
Oh, yeah.
So low battery.
Oh. Okay.
And are we still broadcasting?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So anyway, this was the greatest TV show ever. Bill Bixby, the magician. And Mark Wilson was the magic advisor on the show. Now we fast forward about, 15, 20 years later, I'm in Las Vegas, and I get cast on an episode of Knight Rider.
Knight Rider, sure, I remember that episode.
I played Austin Templeton, the magician / assassin. So on the set also was Mark Wilson. He provided all of the illusions for that episode. And so that's where Mark and I got to know each other and got to hang out and really became friends, was on the set of Knight Rider, right? Working for I think we shot the episode in 7 days. So as we were shooting, one day after work, we were going out to dinner. So we were in Mark's car, we were driving to a restaurant, and Mark says to me, "Lance, how do you like doing this work?" And I said, "Oh, doing this TV show, Mark? Oh, this is great. This is my dream job. I get to do magic, I get to act, I get to work with the stunt guys. I'm having the time of my life." So Mark says to me, "Well, you're doing a good job, and you should think about doing more of this." And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Try to think of an idea to come up with, like The Magician, to do a series where it's a magician who's using his magic skills to solve mysteries,
right,
or whatever.
Well, Black's Magic, remember?
Yeah,
With Hal Linden?
that was later on.
Yeah.
So he planted a seed in my mind, and then 25, 30 years later, Billy Toppet, Master Magician, popped out. So that's how it came about.
But just a one episode. I mean, you didn't. I mean, that's a commitment when they're going to have like 13 different episodes. And
Oh
different
yeah,
ideas
yeah,
and everything.
yeah. So, but no, we wrote it as a feature film.
Yeah,
I
okay.
called up my friend Michael Kudo one day, and I said, he was my guest star in my show in Las Vegas, and I said, Michael, what are you doing after work? And he said, nothing. I said, okay, come over to my house. You and I are going to write a feature film. And he said, okay. It was that simple. And then we sat down and that first night and came up with the characters and the plot and the outline.
Yeah.
And then we just
Did it just kind of come to you, or you just kind of bounce off ideas?
We had
did this. We did this.
Yeah, we had a pizza, and
Yeah.
we just sat there in my living room eating
Yeah.
pizza and throwing ideas and writing down ideas.
Sure.
And it took us about an hour, 2 hours, and we had what we
The general plot.
The general
outline,
plot,
and
and
then
we
you
just-
kind of sleep on it, and then kind of let it percolate.
and
a
then
little bit.
we started writing, and we wrote
Okay.
the script.
And how long did it take actually to write that?
It didn't take that long. It's maybe a month to write the
Once
script.
you got the idea and you know where you're going with it.
Yeah. And
You know, I kind of felt like with the movie, in my opinion, Now You See It. I haven't seen Now You See It 2, but Now You See It, the first movie, didn't do so much for me because I felt like whoever wrote that, they just kind of went off in a direction. Then they said, we don't know what to do. Why don't you guys go out and do a car chase scene for a little bit? And it just seemed disjointed. And then they came back and said, okay, we need to wrap this up and come back in and we'll do that. It was okay, and obviously made a lot of money, enough to do a second one. In my opinion, I thought that Burt Wonderstone, which you were in, was...
No, I
Weren't you in
wasn't.
that
No,
one?
no.
Okay.
I was not involved in any way.
Okay, well, I thought that was a funny movie.
No,
I
no,
enjoyed that.
I wasn't involved in any way.
That wasn't one of your favorite movies.
Well, listen, there have been many movies over the years that involved magicians,
Yeah.
characters on the screen. And some of them I thought did a good job, and some of them not so good. But that's why we wanted to do Billy Toppet. That's why I wanted to do it, because I've never seen a movie that was sort of true to the magic.
Okay.
That used magic that we're used to saying.
Yes.
Seeing magic,
Right.
stage magic, close-up magic, parlor magic, magic techniques in the film.
Usually
I'm
it's like
always,
a Harry Potter kind of...
yeah,
that
I'm
magic.
always, I admit, because I've been a professional magician all my life, I may be too close to the subject, and that's fine. But I admit that. But I always am disappointed when I see a movie and they go to the
Take the easy way out.
CGI
Yeah.
to make the magic. And I'm always confused. I'm always like, if you're going to do a movie about a magician, then why don't you do magic? Why don't you have the lead character do the magic? So that was our goal.
So that's the idea of Billy Toppet.
That was our
you
goal.
were Billy Toppet, so
Yeah.
you did the real magic.
That was the idea with Billy Toppet is.
Do you have any cutaways or any problems?
No, I wanted to. Before I die, I don't care if anybody else sees it or not. My goal was, before I die, I want to sit down and see a movie where there's a magician and he's not the bad guy.
Yeah, that's right. Not the villain.
And he's not ridiculous.
Yeah.
And he really does magic, and he saves the day, and the magic's real.
Yeah.
And that was all I wanted. Before I die, I just want to see that on screen.
Even if it's in your own movie.
Exactly. And if no one else is going to do it, so that was my goal.
Okay. Well, obviously, you're satisfied with the outcome?
Very happy.
And the distribution, tell me about how that's
The
coming?
distribution is coming along very, very good. It's a long process. Independent film production is exactly what it sounds like. There's no studio behind it.
You have to shop it, go to the festivals and all that.
It's just two crazy guys that sat down and wrote a script and decided we're going to shoot this and we're going to cast all of our friends so we don't have to pay them.
Yeah.
But the good part is all of my friends that are in the movie, they're all magicians that you all know.
Yeah.
We have Johnny Thompson with a major role. He's one of the chief bad guys. Rory Johnson plays his son, who is hilarious, by the way. Rory is without a great bad guy, you don't have a hero.
Yeah, you have to put the hero up in the tree. Yeah.
Rory is a great bad guy. He is such a fine actor and brought so much to the table. But we have professional jugglers, professional magicians.
They got Fielding West.
Fielding plays the mayor. Louis Anderson,
yeah, that's
stand-up
funny.
comic, plays a security guard. Criss Angel pops up in the movie. Robin Leach pops up in the movie. Matt King pops up in the movie.
Matt who?
So everybody you can think of makes cameos. So all the magicians will get a kick out of
Well,
it.
people are going to be asking now, where can they see that? Right now, the trailer is available on YouTube.
Right now,
but
right now you're not able to see it, but that's what I'm working on.
Yeah.
Last month we made our festival premiere
at
the Wild Rose Film Festival in Des Moines, Iowa, and it's a week-long festival, and they show 60 to 70 different films. We were the closing night film, and we won 6 awards, including the award for Best Family Film of the entire festival. And I know most of you didn't get to go to the film festival, but I documented the entire trip with my iPhone. And when I got home, I took a lot of photos and videos. And when I got home, I put together a little travel video, and it's about 8 minutes long, but it shows my whole trip and the festival and the awards presentation. And you can find that on my YouTube channel. Just search Lance Burton. I have a whole channel now, and it's called My First Film Festival, or you can just
I'm going to put it.
And it's on Facebook also. It's on my Facebook page.
That's I think where I saw it. I watched the whole thing too, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Because some of their that again was a thing which was for charity. Because I know you were talking about animal rescue there.
Right,
as well.
and they have a great no-kill shelter there in Des Moines, called the Animal Rescue League of Iowa. And I went and took a tour of their shelter, which is on the video. And we had on the red carpet we had dogs for adoption to walk the red carpet, and it's all in the video.
Well, I'm going to put that video link also whenever this is
posted
great. On the blog, so this way they can listen to it, and they can also tap on that to watch this then as well. I want to go over here to see what kind of questions.
We got questions.
Because I'm sure that now we've got some people. Let's see, what have we said over here? Boy. Tell you what, why don't you go back over and you can scroll through there and take a look.
Let's see.
And
we've got some questions.
My glasses.
Hi, Lance. You ever done a show in Quebec, Canada? I have not been to Quebec. Many years ago, I did some shows for the firefighters in Edmonton and Calgary. Chuck Jones was doing those shows.
Chuck and Jam.
Then, and now it's run by Murray Hatfield, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those were fun shows. 40 below zero, though. It was very cold.
Welcome to Canada.
When we left the theater, I had to take blankets and wrap around my carrier with all the doves in it. 'Cause I didn't want the doves to freeze when I was trying to get into the car to get back to the hotel. And there's Kathy says, hi, Lance. Hi to you, too. And, here we are. Kathy says, still look great. Oh, thank you. Flattery will get you everywhere.
You or me?
I don't know. It might be. And wish I had the opportunity to meet you in person. Lance, you should have come to the I.B.M. convention.
Yes.
Yeah, we're having a great time here. Do you travel much to other parts of the country? No, I don't travel much these days. I stay home, and I have 2 dogs and 7 cats. And I have a dog who Rio is 14 years old, and how
about your doves? How old are they?
And the doves are very old. They're over 20 years old.
Yeah,
I still have the doves, but Rio is on. He's got arthritis, so he has to have pain pills, and I take care of him.
To watch him.
Yeah. Stage magic. Why do you think some do not do it anymore? Well, that this is a good point.
That's a very good question.
A good question. The close-up magic and the sort of quote-unquote street magic.
The cardistry we were just talking about earlier.
has the young people have sort of moved their interest into those. So I think we're not seeing as many young stage magicians come along as we have in the past, but magic goes in cycles. So
true.
Right now, close-up magic's really hot.
The
heavy.
pendulum might swing back here.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I think that's
what
always.
I think is also then. Lance,
have you ever met Betty White? I think I did meet Betty White once.
I did. She was in my show. I was working at the Castle of the Parlor once, many years ago.
We had the same agent for many years.
Oh, no way. Really?
Yeah, and he's a great guy. And I think I did meet Betty White once, and I think it was at one of the Academy of Magical Arts awards ceremonies. Let's see. Matt King, School of Magic. Yes, Matt King is one of my best friends. I met Matt King when I was 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
We were both at the Louisville Magic Club, watching in Chicago. Hello, Chicago. Yes, I am attached to the beard. Someone wants to know. Yes, once I retired, I didn't grow the beard right away once I retired, but once we finished, because we were still filming the movie, so I had to match shot. Once we finished filming, though, I just
you let it grow.
It's not that I grew a beard; I just stopped shaving.
Like in Frozen, let it grow, let it grow. No, that's not it.
And looking good, Lance. It's been 10 years since I saw you when I got married in Vegas. Still married. Good for you.
Who's that?
Erwin Royce. Good for you.
Please.
Still married.
Yeah. Well, going back over there to the fact that there are not a lot of people who are doing stage magic, my thought is that it's got to be expensive. Illusions are expensive, particularly for young people entering into magic. That we would have little boxes or stratospheres or whatever types of little parlor tricks and try to make a stage show out of it. But to go and buy an illusion and to pay the maker of that, let's say like for someone who wants to buy one of Walter Blaney's ladder levitations or something.
Yeah,
illusions not going to get into that.
Illusions is a whole different thing. But there's a whole category of stage magic. I started out as a stage magician, but I was doing card manipulations and candles and.
Is that what you did first?
Doves.
More manipulation.
Yeah,
and that's difficult to do.
That was my original act. And that was just because that was the kind of magic I liked to see when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. First magician I ever saw was Harry Collins.
Oh, sure. The Frito magician.
Frito-Lay magician. My mother worked at the Frito-Lay plant
that was how it happened.
in Louisville making potato chips.
Okay.
And it was the Frito-Lay employees' Christmas party.
Okay.
And I was 5 years old, and Harry was doing a show for the employees. And I was the kid that went up on stage to do the Miser's Dream. Uh-huh. And that was my first experience with magic. But Harry did doves, and so my first experience was Harry. He did doves, and he looked like a magician, and Miser's Dream, he was a terrific sleight of hand magician, and that was the image I had in my mind. That's what a magician's supposed to be.
He's a magician's magician.
And then as I got older, I started seeing other magicians. I saw, of course, Johnny Thompson on television, Shimada, Norm Nielsen.
Did you feel like you were cloning those people?
I felt like I would see those guys on the Merv Griffin show or on the Tonight Show, and I would go, wow, now that's a real magician. That's what I want to do. So I was always drawn to that type of magic.
The reason I mention that is because that the people have talked about Lance Burton clones, during a time whenever because whoever's popular wins, or now it's Criss Angel or whatever.
Yeah, whoever's popular, whoever they see on TV, that's
right.
Kids, and that's natural. I mean, when we're kids, you see somebody on TV and doing a type of act,
and they're successful, and that's why I want to be like you. Just like you were saying that you emulated your style after them, but you developed your own style then.
Eventually you've developed your own.
Well, and that's what I was going to get at as far as when you're saying the act. That I had Mike Robinson, who is a tremendous ventriloquist, and he was talking about when people come to him and say, "I want to buy a puppet for my child because he's interested in ventriloquism." He said, "Well, does he like to write scripts? Is he good, at throwing his voice?" "Well, no, he wants to get this." "Well, then he wants to buy a doll." That's not the same thing. In other words, he says that the throwing your voice and learning the ventriloquism is the skill. The puppet or the dummy is the act. So in other words, you were learning back palming and all kinds of manipulation skills and all this kind of stuff because those were your skills, and then you said, okay, I could do this, and then you have an act. I mean, there's something that will trigger it saying, oh, I see this lamppost, or I can do this with, the doves would be nice up there, it's kind of outdoors, or it makes sense. I mean, and then it becomes more organic and you put together an act. And that's what I like about your act. I like about Copperfield's act on television when he's got one thing that kind of leads to the next as opposed to...
Okay, we're back. We had a
battery technical snafu.
Scott's battery died. Now we're on my iPhone. So we don't know if this is working or not.
Sorry about that, fans.
And are we still talking on this microphone?
We will here in just a minute.
But is it going into this feed?
No, two different feeds. So this is going through Facebook, and this is just going through my computer.
Oh, I
see.
This
is just going for the podcast.
Now, can they hear us?
Yep, they can.
Do you think the microphone is? Do you think? Okay, Elliot Hitchcock has joined us. Hello, guys.
Can you hear okay?
Let us know how the audio is. If you can post a little comment or something. Oh, Fielding West has joined us. Hi.
Hey, Fielding.
Hey, Fielding. We're going to talk about you.
Scott over here too, yeah.
We were talking about you earlier. So if you're just joining us, we were doing a fancy live Facebook podcast on Scott Wells' podcast page, and now his battery died. Now we've switched to my iPhone on my Facebook page.
But if you want to hear what happened for the first half that you missed, you can go to that Facebook page on the Magic Word Podcast and hear our first half.
Okay, here we are. We can hear great, he says.
Okay,
great.
good.
Audio is fine. Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank
Thanks for the feedback.
Okay.
But it was closer back then. So do you think we're still?
Let me see if I can. Okay, why don't we do this? I'll put it over here because really they want to see you. They don't care about me. Here we go.
Okay, guys. There we go.
Okay.
Sounds great. Good. Thank you. Thank you.
Alrighty. So let me.
Now, what were we talking about?
I was talking about the.
Here we are.
So the act.
I.B.M. convention. Here we are. Thank you. Adios. Okay. In Portugal. Wow, Portugal. Nice to see you.
It tells you how many people we've got over there too.
Oh wow!
I mean,
well, thanks for joining us. This is the first time I've ever done a live Facebook thing.
We got like 58 people right now.
Mondre has joined us. Mike Douglas, he's in the movie also. He's in Billy Toppet. He's in the party scene. Good to see you. Wow, we're getting a lot of people. Great. Yeah. So we were talking. Now, what were we talking about?
We'll pick back up
before the battery died.
Before the battery died on the other one, we were talking about how that the skill is the manipulation and everything, and learning the card manipulation.
Oh, sure.
But the act is actually whenever that you come up with the idea of saying, okay, well, I've got these kinds of things that I think I can put together.
Sure. You want to frame an act, a stage act. You want to frame it in a theatrical setting. My act was sort of, I had a street. It was originally a street sign. Mm-hmm. And it became a street lamp with a little newspaper box. And that was so I didn't have to have an assistant to bring props on and off. So the birds would just fly up to the lamp, and I could...
Oh, that was your idea. It's just you were
cheap. It was I didn't want to pay an assistant. So that was... But that also made it, kind of into a street scene. And then later on, that allowed me to have a backdrop with, a painted backdrop with a London backdrop.
Was that what that was supposed to be? I thought I was thinking it was New York, so it was London.
It was
a silhouette of it.
I started out with the street sign. Was
over the two
was like a new 52nd Broadway, I think, was what we had painted on the sign.
That would be an interesting trivia question.
Now that was a real street sign.
Oh.
Yeah, I was in high school. My friend.
So there's one missing.
Yeah, my friend Mickey Mudd and I were driving one day when we were in high school.
Yeah.
And we were in his neighborhood, and someone had backed into or hit the street sign.
Knocked it over.
And had knocked the sign off.
Yeah.
And the sign was just laying in the grass. And so we drove by, and I just stopped the car. He got out and grabbed it and put it in my trunk.
And you kept it for all those years.
And then later on, I thought of the idea for the street sign, so I just painted it over. I covered it and had a friend of mine paint on it.
Yeah.
And then Matt King's mom, Betty, gave me a hat rack that she had.
Okay.
And my dad attached it to the top of the hat rack.
Mm-hmm.
And then I bought a little basket at some store and attached it to the front. And that was what I did my act with. And so that was a street sign that Mickey Mudd and I stole, and a hat rack. And my dad attached it, and that's what I used on my first Tonight Show.
I was about to ask you, that was
it.
And that's what you used also when you won FISM. You'd taken that over then.
No, Bill Smith had built me a fancy street lamp.
Well, why didn't you use that on Johnny? He wasn't good enough for that.
Yeah, no, it was afterwards. That was after Johnny.
I thought you won first, then were on the Carson show.
No,
it was vice versa.
I won the gold medal competition.
That was what it was. I remember in Louisville, Kentucky.
In Evansville, Indiana.
Pardon me. Yep.
A gold medal competition, and then went out and did his magic, and then Johnny Carson, and then came to Vegas. Did 2 months at the Tropicana, then went to FISM, then came back to Vegas.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I remember so well there at Evansville. You were the first person to win the gold medal, and that I was not as involved with the I.B.M. as I am now, and it was one of my early conventions, and someone was telling me during rehearsal about how that you had spent so much time throwing your doves to the spotlight to make sure they were going to come back.
Oh, yeah.
Someone was telling me, that is really the mark of a real professional, somebody who's not just going to walk in and try it and it works fine once, but you kept trying.
Well, we took a few minutes just to test the lights out with the birds because I was still learning the act at the time, and frankly, I hadn't had an opportunity to work the act in a real theater with real lighting. So
it was a huge theater for you at the time.
I was nervous how the birds would react under those conditions.
They worked beautiful.
And it worked good. And by the way, the gold medal we were just at the gold medal competition.
We were at the stage competition. Tomorrow night's the gold competition.
Oh yeah, but these were gold medals.
They were
preliminaries.
Okay.
This
yes.
is the preliminaries.
For the gold
medal.
medal,
Yeah,
yes.
so we were just watching. So it's still going on, and it's very creative acts.
You've really never acted as a judge, per se.
No,
And
never
what do
be
you
a judge.
think-
Never be a judge. It's a thankless task. If you're a judge, you make one friend for life, and you make 50 enemies for life.
Who are always saying, "Well, I've got speaking out of the
Yeah.
over your shoulder, behind your back."
I would never be. And I have compassion and for the judges because it's a tough job.
What do you think about judging in general? I mean, for art, because that magic is a creative art like ballet or whatever.
Here's what I think. If there was one thing I could. First of all, you can have the Audience Choice Award, so nobody can argue with that because that's democratic. Everyone in the audience gets a vote. The People's Choice Award. That's always a nice way to give one of the prizes out. But if you're going to have a jury and a panel of judges, I very strongly recommend in the future for any organizations having a contest, have as many judges as you can, have up to 8 or 10 judges, and institute a policy where you throw out the high score and the low score for each contestant, like they do at the Olympics. So, for instance, you have a magician that comes in from whatever country, from England, let's say, and he does his act, and you have 10 judges, and one of the judges scores him really high, or one of the judges scores him really low. One judge can affect the outcome. But if you do like at the Olympics, if you just automatically say, okay, who gave the highest score? Okay, this guy, we're going to throw his out. Who gave the lowest score for the guy from England? We're going to throw his out.
Funny
I
story.
think there's never going to be a way that's completely fair, but I think that helps make it more fair.
I was in judging a magic competition once, and we had used that for the I.B.M. one time. And I remember that Kevin James and Rudy Kobe were judges along with me. And the funny thing, almost every one of theirs was thrown out because that Rudy was like, "Oh, this guy's a 10. This is really great," And Kevin's like, "He's a 1 maybe or a 2." And it's like they were both being as critical as they could, but they had a different level of where they started. To begin with, basically. And Rudy's just outgoing and just saying, "Oh, this guy's great. This guy's great." Kevin's saying, "You could use a little more work." It was kind of funny. So we kind of ended up in the middle of the road then like that. But it's just, I think, hard to judge art. And I'm talking about when any kind of art competition, when you're painting, sculpture, whatever it is, or if you're at the state fair judging cattle.
It's subjective.
It's very subjective.
It's always subjective.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so that's why I think you need to have the best judges possible who have a good base of comparison. It's not their first rodeo.
Right. Have as many judges as you can, have the most experienced judges as you can, and you do the best you can. But you're right. It's never going to be. Art is not conducive to being judged in that way. It's not like a sporting event.
It's not. No, exactly. And so it really changes the dynamic, I think, if you have different people who have different backgrounds, and so this way they know what they're going to be.
Oh, here's a question,
for.
Lance: experts or lay folks? Experts see one way. Yes, that's a good point. That's a good point. That he brings up in judging contests. Do you listen to the experts or do you listen to the lay people?
Well, that's why we have the People's Choice Award.
That's right, too, People's Choice, and it's always good. When I was in the gold medal competition, they also had a couple of judges that were laymen in terms of magic, but were maybe theater people, or people involved in art or music or whatever, but their background wasn't in magic. I think that's a good point too, because in the end, as magicians, we're hoping to make a product that's commercial. We're hoping to get hired to work on a cruise ship or a restaurant or a casino or whatever. So absolutely, if I have to choose between pleasing the judges or pleasing the people, I always go with the people.
That's where the money is.
Because that's where the money's at. That's where you're going to make your living. And,
that's right.
And that's your job, is to entertain. Your job isn't to entertain the magicians and the magic judges. Your job is to entertain the people.
The paying public.
And Melissa says, Lance looks great with a goatee. Thank you, Melissa.
I didn't see the rest on the side.
Thank you.
Thank you. Got it there too.
What about Scott? He's got a nice
the full thing going
too.
over there too. That's right. Were there some others up above there? Let's see whether there are questions.
Let's see. Wait a minute. Now we've hit a wrong button.
Yeah, scroll down.
Lance, you rock. Thank you. Are you staying in retirement? Yes, I am. I love retirement. let's see if there's some more questions we've missed. Hey, there's cousins in Kentucky. Hey, Rilda, how are you?
It's funny.
I got cousins on here. Nice. I'm coming back to Kentucky eventually. I'm planning on when
Eventually going to
eventually
go back to the home.
I'm moving back to the farm, and
How big was your farm?
the family farm was my grandfather's farm. It's about 100 acres.
Was it cattle or was it a ranch?
They had on the farm. When my grandfather was alive, there were cows that he had to milk every day, and pigs and chickens. And as kids, we had to go out to the chicken coop and collect eggs, and grew crops, grew all corn and all kinds of crops. So, but it's just very peaceful on the farm, and I love being back there. And that's where I tend to wind up here shortly.
Any other questions there?
Now that we've got the movie done.
Yeah, the movie's done. You don't have another one in mind. I mean, you're
No,
finished with that.
I did the movie.
So you've done that. Just one.
Yes, I won some awards.
Well, what else on your bucket list?
Award-winning filmmaker. Okay, I'm quitting while I'm ahead.
That's right.
That's it. And only thing I have to do now, only thing left is to write the book, and I can do that at the farm just as easily as Las Vegas.
And is your book going to be kind of like what Johnny Thompson has a lot of tricks? I mean, he was talking last evening about having that.
I'll put everything in the book, everything possible I can think of.
Speaking of that, tell me about a story. You know, people love to hear some stories. Have you got...
Sure. What story you want to hear?
Well, I was going to say like behind the scenes or something. You know, there've been a lot of celebrities come through Vegas and that you meet. And has there been anything that's been there was like a childhood hero? It was kind of cool meeting
yeah. We had so many wonderful nights, people to come through, and let's see. When we'd only been open at the Monte Carlo Hotel for about a year or so, and Bruce Willis came to the show and brought his 3 daughters.
Yeah.
And that was a cool night because, number one, I'm a big Bruce Willis fan. I love his movies. And it was great to see him. You know, you think of Bruce Willis, you think, Mr. Macho, yippee-yi-yay, and all these action movies, and he's a tough guy. But to see him with his 3 daughters, they were very small then, and he brought them backstage, and to see him, he was so cool. And they came backstage, and I met them, but it was fun to see him as a father because he was like, no, dear, don't touch that. Now, Mr. Burton has to do another show. Now, it was just so neat to see that.
Yeah, different side.
And so that was fun, and we got a picture and everything, which hung for years out in the hallway outside of my dressing room. I had a whole wall of fame of actors and celebrities and magicians that come to the show.
Like Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali came to the show. I met Muhammad Ali 3 times in my life, and the last time I saw him, it was about maybe a year before we closed the show. His daughter Rashida came to the show. And I met her, and she said, "You know what? I'm coming back, and I'm going to bring my dad with me." And about 2 or 3 weeks later, she came back with the champ, and I introduced him in the audience. And at that point, the Parkinson had developed pretty far. He could barely stand.
Yeah.
So I introduced him in the audience. I gave him this big introduction, and he stood up. And his daughter was on one side of him, and his wife was on the other, and they were helping him. They were helping to steady him. But he stood up and waved, and the crowd went crazy. Yeah. The entire audience jumped to their feet and gave him a standing ovation. And then just a few months ago, I was at a charity event that Mike Hammer was putting on in Las Vegas. At this go-kart race. Okay. It was to raise money for a homeless shelter, I think. And Rashida was there, and she came up to me and said, "Lance, I need a magician to perform at my dad's birthday party next month."
You say, I'll find somebody for you.
And I said, I've been retired so long, I don't know if I could do it, but I have the guy for you. And
really? You didn't do it?
I introduced her to Fielding West,
and
Fielding was so ecstatic he talked to her. He said, "Oh, I'd love to do it," and he drove up to Phoenix. And went to the home. It was at Ollie's home. It was just his family. It was his children and grandchildren. And Fielding did a magic show for the champ's 74th birthday. That was his last birthday party.
Yeah.
What a great supporter of magic. Muhammad Ali was.
Whenever I talk with Fielding on the podcast, he always gives such great stories. Also, he's talked about, Frank Sinatra. Having met him backstage.
Oh yeah.
Things. I guess he's come to your show way back when.
I don't know that I ever. He came to my show. I got bumped off a show by Frank Sinatra once.
Okay, what was that?
Well, when I first moved to Las Vegas, I was at the Tropicana Hotel, and they were having a fundraiser over at the Hilton, which is now the Westgate, and it was for the St. Jude's Ranch, which was a children's home orphanage there in Las Vegas, and it was called their Parade of Stars. So it was all different entertainers from around town. And they asked me to perform on it. So I did my first show at the Folies Bergère, and I ran over there in between shows, and I'm getting all my stuff ready to go on, and in walks Frank Sinatra backstage. And Joe Delaney, who is the guy who's organizing the event, comes up to me and says, "Lance, we don't really put Frank Sinatra on the schedule. He just shows up whenever he wants, and we put him on. So he's going to go on.
And bump you.
And so it's going to be another 30, 40 minutes before we can get you on." I said, "Joe, I have a late show I have to do. I can't hang around." He says, I understand completely, and we thank you for coming here to support the organization, and next year we'll make sure we get you on. So I'm packing my stuff up, and I'm kind of bummed because here I am in Las Vegas, and this was my first time on a
big stage,
kind of a benefit show that I was asked to do, and it was really exciting. And I packed my stuff up, and I'm looking up, and there's Frank Sinatra standing about 4 feet away from me.
Yeah.
And I look up, and he's got his back to me, and I'm thinking, wow, there's Frank Sinatra,
the chairman of the board.
It was exciting just to be in the same room with him. So.
Yeah. Wow. I was going to say, Fielding also talked about another tip on practicing, and that was where he would use. What do you call it? When it goes back and forth, the pentameter, or like for a piano,
the little
yes,
metronome.
Metronome. Thank you very much. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Because that way, pacing that you kind of know that as far as taking applause and things like that. Do you have any tips or something?
No, I never used a metronome. Lance, do you have any Elvis stories?
Oh, that'd be good.
Your Sinatra story is incredible. I never met Elvis, but I've met a lot of Elvis impersonators. I have. So I feel like
here there was a Mexican Elvis impersonator here in San Antonio.
I feel like I knew the king because I have hung out with a lot of Elvis impersonators. What is this? Oh, there's Michael King. You got floor space if I show up at the I.B.M. convention. Michael King. Hi, Michael. Michael King. My first magic convention was the I.B.M. convention in 1976.
You guys shared a room?
And I was sharing a room with Harry Collins.
Yeah.
And Michael King showed up at the convention, and I was 16. He was like 16 also. He didn't have a room. He just showed up to the convention. So we let him stay in the room with us.
Crashed in the room with you.
Yeah, he crashed the room.
Funny.
And over there's Stephanie. Stephanie, one of my assistants, and Stephanie, I was talking earlier today to one of the young magicians and was asking about you, and he was saying, what's going on with Stephanie? She was always my favorite assistant.
She's one of your assistants. Now, did you float her? She was one of the...
She didn't do the levitation, but she did the gramophone with me.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other tricks, and Tonya, there's Tonya, just joined us. Hi, Tonya. Now Tonya did the levitation with me. Yes, she did the levitation the last like 2-3 months of the show. Mm-hmm. And both of these girls, terrific dancers, and good to see you guys. And Stephanie did the gramophone. So,
okay. Now, how do you find the different assistants? I know that different people will find them through.
Well, we generally held auditions when we needed a new cast member, mm-hmm. and
And then did they stay on for a long time, or I guess it kind of depended upon whatever's
most of
happening
the
in their lives,
most of the cast stayed on for a long time. The cast and the crew.
What was the largest cast you had at some point?
The entire at the Monte Carlo, the entire operation was about 30 people. Now that includes everything: the assistants, on-stage people, the technicians, stagehands, sound, lighting. So it was about 30 of us. So it was really a small. When you consider some of the shows. Some of the like Cirque du Soleil, over at the Bellagio, has 35 people in the wardrobe department
alone.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they have more wardrobe people than we had in the entire.
But I bet they didn't have a dove wrangler like you. I remember on a show there was Dirty Jobs, and this guy was in charge of cleaning up, and
Turtle. His job, one of his jobs was shoveling the duck. Poop out of the duck pen, because they came to us and they said, we want to do a dirty job. What is the filthiest job you have here? And we'd say, shoveling the duck poop is the fifth one. Hello, Frou Frou. How are you? Frou Frou is a wonderful singer, and we worked together in Tombstone Junction.
Yeah, in Louisville.
Back in Cumberland Falls, Kentucky.
Okay.
Many years ago. Wow, I'm seeing so many people here, and this is my first live thing on Facebook. So if you're just joining us,
like 119 people on there right now.
If you're just joining us, we started on Scott's Facebook page,
The Magic Word Podcast.
TheMagicWordPodcast.com. We are here at the International Brotherhood of Magicians Convention.
And if you did miss that, by the way, then too, that you can go back then to the MagicWordPodcast.com, and this whole interview or this podcast will be published within the next couple of weeks. In fact, this is the 301st podcast, and I wanted to welcome you to start the next generation of this. I just talked with Gabe Blackstone for the 300th, and so you are my official one to start the next
fantastic.
100.
I saw Argentina and Adair County. I saw something. Let me see. There's a lot of questions coming in. I'm sorry if I haven't been paying attention.
We've been chatting.
And here's Scott.
In case you're wondering who's on the other end of the microphone.
Stories from Adair County, Kentucky. Yes, that is where my family is from, and my sister still lives there, and I have cousins, and that's where I'm moving back to eventually, to the farm. I love Adair County. And, I was inspired by you, Lance. Wow, thank you. And
I hope, by the way, as you're kind of looking through this, for those people who are listening to this in the podcast and driving to and from work and hearing this much after this is gone.
Mickey Mudd says, where's the lighter fluid? Oh. Mickey, I don't know how long you've been on this podcast, but I told the story of when we found that street sign next to your house. The police called, Mickey. They're looking for you, too.
Your name is Mudd.
Yeah. When are you coming to Mexico? Hola, amigo.
You don't travel, so probably not.
Yeah, probably. I don't get out too much anymore.
Yeah.
When are you bringing the act out of retirement? Well, I'd have to shave if I did that, so we can't. When you come into South Africa land, there's Craig Mitchell who runs the College of Magic in South Africa. I would actually really love to come in there and meet the students.
That's a great thing that Craig does with those guys.
And tell the two guys, Sowepe and Mukambiso. I always butcher his name.
Those two guys were on, wasn't it on the
on Make Believe? Make Believe. They were the two young magicians from South Africa
who were students there
that were on the documentary Make Believe.
Right.
Which is a terrific documentary. Do you still perform your Dove act to this? No, I don't do it. But I did do part of the act in the film, Billy Toppet, Master Magician.
At a birthday party?
And at the birthday party, and there was a party scene where I did some more of it. And thank you. Well, look at all these nice comments. Nice. You are, Lance, you are an icon. And this is incredible. You know what that means, icon? That means old guy.
Old guys.
Yeah,
you don't reach that icon status like overnight.
There's my cousin Marilyn from Boston. Hi, Marilyn. How are you? Look at this. I think half these people are my family.
That's right.
Corbin, Kentucky. Here's somebody from Corbin, Kentucky. Now, Corbin was the city that was the biggest city closest to Tombstone Junction,
Okay.
where Mac and I worked.
So you go over to sleep, spend the night there, and
And
then go back to work the next
Corbin,
day.
Kentucky, that's where the very first Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant
The Colonel's
was. Yeah,
place.
the Colonel's restaurant.
Huh.
Chicago, wonderful. Gabriel, there's my wardrobe mistress.
Okay.
Gabriel. And she says, wish we were there. We miss you. I just saw her Thursday night. She works for Criss Angel now.
Okay.
And I just saw her Thursday night. I went to the opening of Chris's new show, Mind Freak Live, at the here it is, Nukumbuzo and Sowepe. Yes,
Thanks, Frank.
please tell them I said hello. The I.B.M. Beard Convention.
Yeah, that's right. And Eugene Berger is here too, by the way. Speaking of the
we should have
magic
Jim.
beard.
Jim Holmes, look at that. There's James Holmes,
Oh,
my
I know
old
him,
friend,
sure.
expert magician with the Fantasio candles and canes. Did you ever see James's one-handed vanishing cane?
I'll tell you a funny story about him is that I did see him showing up to Di Vernon. We were.
Oh, really?
Yep, and he stopped. We were in a hallway, and I want to say it was a convention. And,
Cousin Rhonda.
And that James had said, Di, I'd like to show you this, and he did. And Di liked it.
That was
cool.
an amazing.
Yeah.
I got more cousin Rhonda is here.
Boy,
Tell Aunt Zella I said hello. And I keep every day I keep thinking I have to call Aunt Zella. I haven't talked to her in forever. And then by the time I remember it, it's like, oh, it's too.
You're retired, man. You got time.
It's 2 hours later there than in Las Vegas, and I always I've got to call it's my only aunt left, Aunt Zella, and.
Yep.
But please tell her I said hi. Well, look at all these comments. Boy, I can't keep up with. Oh, Mike Hammer, there he is. Mike Hammer. I was telling the story earlier about being with your at your go-kart event, and there's Mondre, and he's in the movie also. He's in the party scene.
How long is the movie? An hour and a half, 2 hours?
The movie is. I'm going to put this down here because this is probably getting boring. Me just reading things.
Only the people who are listening to the podcast.
The movie is about an hour and 45 minutes long, and I think it's an hour and 50 with the credits.
Okay.
So it's a feature-length film, and I'm very excited for everybody to see it. And
when do you think it's going to be released?
Maybe shortly, as soon as I possibly can.
Yeah, the sooner the better.
But the problem is you don't want to blow your sales by rushing it.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
You want to squeeze. There's a certain order that you do it in.
Otherwise, it goes straight to DVD.
If you can get theatrical releases, which I think we can get in at least in a limited area, if you can get there at you do that first.
Okay, you're learning a lot about this, aren't you?
Yeah. It's a whole art form. So you try to do that first, I think, and then you can go to digital downloads. And then you can go to DVD. Then you can get it on premium cable channels, and then standard cable. Yeah. So there's a whole order that you need to go in, or else if you try to rush it, I could release it tomorrow if I wanted to. I could just go bing, let's put it on iTunes or Facebook or Amazon or whatever. Bang, I could press a button, but now I kill my other sales.
Of course. Yeah.
So you want to do it in a way that makes sense for the movie.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, we've probably gone on over here long enough, so I want to tell you what I want to do. Because the name of the podcast is called The Magic Word, and this is your first time, Lance, and actually being my full-time guest on one of these things, so I wanted just to ask you, what is your magic word? It doesn't have to be like a word, it could be a phrase, or what's your philosophy of life?
Please and thank you are the magic words. Please, you'd be surprised.
Yeah, that's true, that people don't use those.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how much that will accomplish. Oh, getting thumbs up there. I see people can do thumbs up, and it pops up on the screen.
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, and there's Ann. Ann Rohinsky. Hi, Ann. Now, Ann.
Is she a relative too?
No, she's not a relative, but I feel like she is. Ann was for many years the publicist for NBC.
Oh, okay.
And so she was in charge when I was doing TV specials and when we were doing World's Greatest Magic. Yeah. She was in charge of getting the word out that there's a magic show coming on TV, setting up interviews and setting up all kinds of things to publicize the television show.
One last thing, and then also speaking of the television show, are you anxious to do another one of those roller coaster escapes?
No, I'm not doing any more escapes. I'm not.
Just real quick, can you tell that story?
I'm not shaving anymore.
Can you tell that story real quick?
The
just about
story.
the,
Well,
roller coaster?
yeah, I did several escapes back in the '90s on television specials. Upside down straitjacket
Coffin.
escape, buried alive in the coffin, the underwater escape, straitjacket in a water tank, car crusher
Oh, that's right.
escape.
Yeah.
And the last one was the roller coaster. Now, this was not my idea. This was Johnny Thompson's idea.
Mm-hmm.
Every year when I did a TV special, Johnny would come to me and say, "Why don't you do my roller coaster escape?"
Yeah.
Because this was something Johnny had done in Japan. He didn't do it.
Yeah.
He
suggested someone else do
didn't
it.
get strapped to the roller
Yeah.
coaster. There was a female escape artist, Lauren Condon, and they did a Japanese television special. She went over there and they filmed. Her father was Joe Condon, was a very good friend of mine,
Mhm.
and they did all these escapes. And one of them was Johnny came up with this thing. They had a roller coaster. It was all shot. A lot of it was shot in a theme park there in Japan.
Yeah.
So they did. She was strapped on a thing with a roller coaster, and she had to get out for the roller coaster.
Yeah, right.
And so they went and filmed this, and then Johnny showed me the tape, and I was like, "That's too dangerous. That looks crazy, John." And he kept saying, "No, you need to do my roller." No. And then finally, I just ran out of material. I said, "Okay,
let's do it."
Let's do it." And that was the big thing. So we shot it, and I jumped away, and the roller coaster came through, and then they showed me the playback.
Mm-hmm.
And we shot it from there was like 3 or 4 or 5 cameras on me. So if you look at the tape, they show it from one angle, then they show it from another angle,
Mm-hmm.
and there's one angle we didn't use because it was kind of the reverse shot because you couldn't see anything because the coaster blocked it.
Okay.
But they showed like 3 different angles on the TV show, but they showed me a playback, and I was like, "Oh no, we can't show this on TV." And they go, "Why not?" I says, "This is too scary. This is going to scare children."
Yeah.
And I thought for a while we didn't have an ending for the special, but they talked.
When you
me
jumped
down.
away, I mean, didn't it just clip your heel as you were jumping away?
It was very close, and before we shot it, Gary Willett, who was the producer on the show,
Lovely
came
guy.
up to me and said, "At the end of this trick, assuming you're alive,
Wow.
what are you going to do?"
Uh-huh.
He says, "It doesn't seem to me like it's one of those things where it's, yay, high five with the crew," which, we've done on other escapes. And he said, "What are you going to do at the end of this escape?" And I said, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. Let's just film it.
Yeah.
Just keep the cameras rolling." So we did the trick, and then I set up and I looked, and I just said, "That was stupid."
Yeah, I remember that
And
so
that
well.
was just what came out of my mouth. And
Organically.
Organically.
That's
So
what you felt.
and after the show, Gary's like, "That was great, Lance. What a great ending. That was stupid."
Yeah. Well, listen, we're going to end on that then also. This wasn't stupid, and I had asked you if you do this. I asked please, and I'm going to use your word thank you.
Oh,
for
you're
being
very
my
welcome.
guest.
You're very, very welcome. Pleasure, Scott. Always good to talk to you.
Thank you, Lance.
And thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Be sure to go to the magicwordpodcast.com
Yeah.
so that way you can know where to go.
Yeah, that's the whole thing will be there.
Yep.
And thanks, and I guess it worked because
We're still alive.
I'm being dragged into the 21st century, and I have an iPhone,
There we go.
and we know how to work it. Thanks,
Right over there.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Until next time. Well, that was Lance Burton.
Finish.
This is Scotty out.